After more than 25 years, Ash Ketchum will finally achieve his dream of becoming a Pokemon Master, which means he'll be leaving the Pokemon anime, clearing the way for a new protagonist. It's hard to believe he's leaving. It's almost like replacing Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. So to commemorate Ash's Twilight days, I've decided to dedicate all of this month to Pokemon content. Think of it as a month-long leavers party. Welcome to the first video of PokeMarch. For our first video, since everyone loves complaining, let's start with some negativity regarding Pokemon's popular boss characters, otherwise known as gym leaders. Everyone has their favourites, but some of us have our unfavourites. It could be because of their gym puzzle, their personality, or even something as petty as their character design. Maybe you don't even need a reason. Just keep in mind, a lot of my choices are based around nitpicking, so try not to get too upset if one of your favourites is on the list. It's Snooty Bird's Top 10 Worst Pokemon Gym Leaders! Let's start with a controversial gym leader. Everyone's favourite fortune teller turned film star, Sabrina. Yes, the video's only just started, and already people are whacking away at the dislike button. But allow me to provide some context. The biggest reason Sabrina's on the list is because her gym puzzle is a teleport maze. Unless you get lucky or use a guide, you could be running around in circles for ages before you get up to Sabrina. As I asked in a previous video, does anyone actually like teleport mazes? Now, I'm not asking rhetorically or being sarcastic, I really want to know. Please, tell me in the comments section. Additionally, she has an unfair advantage. Psychic was already the most broken type in Red and Blue, with nothing capable of resisting it. And of the two types that are supposed to be super effective against it, ghost attacks don't work, and the only bug-type stab attacks do laughably poor damage. Now, I don't mind that too much, but the worst thing is that in Yellow, her Pokemon are all level 50. That's almost the level you're expected to be at for the Elite Four! Now, challenge isn't a bad thing, it's just the unfairity of the situation. And then, to pour salt into the wound, she said that she doesn't even like battling. If she doesn't like battling, why did she take the gym leader job? You're a psychic! Just predict lottery numbers or something! Maybe that's why she got into acting by the time of Black and White 2. I sometimes wonder, why did the anime make Silent a travelling companion? The game's practically gift-wrapped Sharon and Bianca for that role. Why a random gym leader who's already part of an established trio? That's like a DuckTales spin-off with only one of the 3 nephews. But that's just a minor nitpick. Let's get on to the real reason Silent and his brothers are on the list. These triplets run their gym together, much like Misty's sisters did in the anime, but instead of having the gym specialise in one specific type, they each pick a different type, and so the gym leader you fight is always the one that has a type advantage over your first Pokemon. In the story context of the game's universe, this strategy comes across as very unsportsmanlike. Well, yes, I know Game Freak wanted to teach players about type matchups and encourage them not to rely on their starter for anything, but that's not the point. It's the principle of the thing. Choosing a Pokemon that has an advantage over your starter is a sort of underhanded trick that a rival character would pull. Bad form, gentlemen. Bad form. Next on our list is Faulkner, not to be confused with the author of Sound and Fury. Now, flying is a good choice for Johto's first gym leader. They don't resist everything else you can catch up to that point, unlike with Brock and his rock types in the last set of games. But the reason he's on the list is because he's got a major attitude problem. He gets all self-righteous about people saying that electric Pokemon can beat flying types. Well, do you know why people say that? Because it's bloody true! It's like taking offense to people saying that penguins can't fly. No one is insulting your precious flying types. They're stating a well-known fact. Imagine someone who likes white wine kicking up a stink because someone said white wine doesn't go with steak. White wine doesn't go with steak! Deal with it! If people were saying that flying Pokemon were rubbish, he might have a point, but all people are saying is that electric is super effective against flying. They're just pointing out its weakness. They're not actually suggesting that flying is inferior as a type, even though it technically is. Now we have a more obscure character from the Pokemon universe. Josie is a gym leader from Pokemon Colosseum for the GameCube. When you get around to battling him, be prepared for one of the series' most infuriating boss fights. You see, Josie's strategy revolves around evasion. He leads off with Sandstorm, and then has all of his Pokemon spam Double Team. Never miss attacks like Swift and Shockwave aren't even that useful in this battle, due to his Pokemon's high defenses, and the fact that most of his Pokemon are either resistant to electric or outright immune to it. Josie is one of the most frustrating boss fights in a game that's already full to the brim of difficult bosses. Just talking about it makes me want to grab that khaki of his and shove it right up his nostril! You know how in anime, they'll sometimes have an episode where the characters spontaneously go to the seaside? It doesn't usually add anything to the overall narrative, and it's just a little filler episode between major story arcs. Well, meet Marlon, a living personification of a typical anime beach episode. I say this because the part of the game where you battle him is such an abrupt interruption of a major story event involving Team Plasma. They've literally just iced an entire city, so I, along with my fellow Pokemon vigilante Hugh, go after them. But the pursuit is interrupted when we reach the coastal town of Humilau, where Hugh suggests I take a break from chasing villains to get the last gym badge. That's like if Batman was chasing Mr. Freeze, but he took a quick break to pick up his tuxedo from the dry cleaners. Now, you could argue that pausing the chase is really more Hugh's idea than it is Marlon's, but then you have to consider Marlon's attitude towards Team Plasma. He proposes, what's right? What's wrong? It's all a matter of perspective. What do you believe? Yeah, try telling that to all the people in the city Team Plasma just blasted with their freeze banger machine. There's none of that grey area bollocks this time round. I'm in the right, they're in the wrong, end of story. Is it a coincidence that the name Marlon rhymes with the word moron? It probably is. Previous gym leaders have been on this list for admittedly petty reasons. The next few are on the list because of their unprofessional behaviour, as well as unethical and unsportsmanlike conduct. Whitney gets a lot of flack for being a crybaby and not giving you a plane badge right after you beat her. I see how that can be annoying, but it's not a major inconvenience. Seriously, if you're complaining about having to walk a couple of steps, talk to her assistant, then talk to Whitney again to get the plane badge, then maybe the real crybaby is a bit closer to home. Whitney may be childish and overly sensitive, but she isn't mean-spirited like Claire. After you navigate your way through her gym and slay her army of dragons, she claims that even though you followed the rules and did everything right, you're still not worthy of the Rising Badge. To prove your worth, you need to go through a dungeon and find the Dragon Fang.
Bring us the Dragon Dagger! Bring us the Dragon Dagger!
So, off you go to the Dragon's Den to find the Dragon Fang, all the while resisting the urge to stab somebody with it. She's even worse in the remakes. Even when you get to the shrine and answer the Elder's questions correctly, Claire's vanity still won't let her admit defeat, and she only relents when the Elder threatens to tell Lance about her infantile behaviour. Getting Claire to hand over the Rising Badge is like playing Trivial Pursuit with someone who won't admit it's the right answer unless you say exactly what's on the card.
James Callahan. It says on the card, James Callahan.
Yes, it says James Callahan full stop, doesn't it?
If you haven't finished the story in Sword and Shield, I need to warn you that the next 2 entries on this list will give away some pretty big spoilers. The spoiler danger zones will be detailed in the description below. The Pokemon League in the Galar region doesn't have an Elite Four. Instead, it's a tournament in which you rematch the gym leaders and some other challengers who got all the badges. And just as you're about to start your first match, it's gatecrashed by someone that shouldn't even have been allowed in. Your former rival, Beedee, who was disqualified from the league for vandalism. Not only is he a thoroughly unlikable character, but he's violating the rules and he's broken into the tournament to battle against you. He hasn't gone through the proper channels and Leon's just allowing it. Oh, does that mean anyone could just run onto the pitch and challenge anyone? If an exception is made for Beedee, what's the point of even having people collect badges in the first place? Later on, during the post-game, Dynamax Pokemon are running amok and you have to attend each gym to get the situation under control, but Beedee demands that you hold off your pursuit in order to battle him. That's like holding up firefighters on their way to a burning building. Public safety happens to be a bit more important than gratifying your parade balloon of an ego. What shithead thought it was a good idea to make this selfish little prick a gym leader in the first place? Number 3 on our list, that's who. Opal is obsessed with making everyone around her wear pink, and she makes up a sob story about Beedee being discarded like a used tampon when Rose no longer needed him. Absolutely nothing to do with destroying a historical monument. Opal's gym challenge is an audition for the role of replacement gym leader to take over the gym when she retires, and despite the fact that your character is the best one to turn up to that audition, she gives the role to Beedee, someone who didn't even read for the role. that is a bit close to home, because there's been a few theatre groups I've encountered who turn away auditionees with actual talent, just so they can give the best roles to their friends and favourites when they don't even bother turning up to the audition. Opal is nothing but a shameless fraud. In her gym, you have to answer questions. If you give the right answers, your stats are supposed to go up, and if you give the wrong answers, your stats go down. However, when you actually battle Opal herself, she gives you trick questions, and she just plain cheats. She lowers your stats even if you answer the question about her age correctly. Oh yeah, that's really mature. That's oh so grown up. I answer the question correctly, and you penalise me anyway because you're a narcissistic old fossil who can't handle the truth.
Hag.
As I mentioned before, there's a lot of people who dislike Whitney for that tantrum she throws when she loses. Now, if you don't like her because she's an unprofessional crybaby and a sore loser, that's fine, you're entitled to your opinion. But could the same not also be said about the anime's depiction of Misty? Now, I want to make this very clear. I like Misty. In the games and other media, she's fine. This segment is just focused on how she's portrayed in the anime, and even there, I don't think she's a bad person, just a victim of bad writing. She's most Gen 1's childhood sweetheart, and she is capable of great kindness and sincerity. But she can also be a towering grade A hypocrite, a sore loser, a crybaby, a narcissist, a liar, and a cheat. She claims to be a water Pokemon expert, yet she neglects all of her water-type Pokemon for the sake of mollycoddling Togepi, who is a normal type. And she's always criticising Ash over things that she herself is guilty of, like lecturing him about getting lazy with his training, yet she's too busy playing Taurus to do any work towards her own goals. You know how Kaylee from Quest for Camelot is claiming to be the world's greatest knight, only to need rescuing every time she tries to do anything heroic? Well, Misty is quite similar to that. In the third movie, she boasts that she's one of the best gym leaders in the Kanto region. There's a couple of problems with this statement. One, she wasn't even the real gym leader when she made that claim. Her sisters were. Misty was a volunteer at best. Second, she loses most of the battles she gets into. Most of the time it's because of her attention-seeking side-up, ruining her plans whenever she tries to use one of her other Pokemon. And as far as sore losers go, she makes Whitney and Claire look like perfect little angels. There's been occasions where she throws tantrums after Ash beats her legitimately, and she can't hide behind that pity excuse like she did in this match in Cerulean Gym. Even 20 years later, she still can't get over not being declared the winner out of nepotism, and is now changing her story to be that she gave him the badge because she felt sorry for him, implying that she won the match. She did not give him the badge because she wasn't the real gym leader, nor did she ever feel sorry for him even when he deserved it, and she certainly didn't win the match. Her strongest Pokemon was knocked out when Team Rocket interrupted them. Even without catering to the director's addiction to having Team Rocket in every episode, the match was unfairly rigged in Misty's favour. She encouraged Pikachu not to take part because she knew that her precious water types would be nothing more than cannon fodder against an electric type. And even if it was ultimately Pikachu's own decision, look at this playing field. As Sophocles points out, where is a non-water type supposed to even stand? I get that it's hard to accept a loss when you've spent so much time coming up with inventive ways to cheat, but gaslighting the winner because you disagree with the judge's decision does not make you a good gym leader, let alone one of the best, as you claim. Like Faulkner, she claims that everyone underestimates her favourite type because it's weak against electric. No one ever says that, you're just attention-seeking. Second, she's upset that people say that electric can beat water, yet instead of proving them wrong, she always uses cheap tricks and emotional blackmail to avoid battling electric types. Like sending out Togepi, an untrained baby that Pikachu's been helping her to raise against Ash and Pikachu. Seriously, she's hiding behind a baby. She accuses Ash of only getting badges out of pity, and yet she guilt-trips him and Pikachu into forfeiting. Hello, Pot! Meet Kettle! I'm starting to think the real reason she doesn't get along with her sisters is because whenever they play Scrabble, she changes her letters with felt tip. And the absolute worst gym leader is, ironically enough, the very first gym leader you meet in the entire franchise, the Pewter City pervert, Brock. As the anime kept dragging on and on, Brock's role was reduced to two functions by the time of Johto Journeys. pretentious, long-winded exposition during Ash's battles, and a running gag that stopped being funny 200 episodes ago. The reason Max never got any real character development in the advanced seasons was that some idiot on the writing team insisted that they bring back Brock. They were getting withdrawal symptoms because it had been so long since they'd seen Brock sexually harassing every woman he sees, including Molly Hale in the third movie. She's 5 years old, you creep! Like Misty, Brock is economical with the truth about how Ash got his first badges. He always takes Misty's side whenever she pulls that pity excuse. That isn't what happened, and you know it. What really happened was that Ash was about to win when Brock's brat pack of siblings dogpiled him, and then they guilt-tripped him into forfeiting because they didn't want Onyx to get hurt. Well, what do they expect? It's a combat sport. Also, Onyx was choking Pikachu to death earlier in the fight, but now that the tables have turned, it's not fun anymore. Ash relented because he's the one who felt sorry for Brock, and Brock, ungrateful bastard that he is, has the nerve to say that it was the other way around. Ironically, this wouldn't be the only time that Eric Stewart voiced a character who emotionally blackmailed his opponent into forfeiting. Not only is Brock a complete wanker in the anime, but I have issues with him in the games as well. I want to know, who thought it was a good idea to have the first gym leader resist everything you could possibly catch up to that point? Yes, he goes down easily enough with Squirtle or Bulbasaur, but if you pick Charmander, which most people playing Red for the first time will obviously do, then you start grinding and doing mediocre damage until you finally win. And Bite, the TM you get for winning, is completely useless. Absorb energy for 2 turns and then hit back with it. Yeah, that assumes your Pokemon doesn't get knocked out in one hit, which most of the time it probably will in competitive battles. Does anyone actually use Bite on their Pokemon? So with his long-winded speeches, repeated use of the same unfunny joke every episode, taking away another character's chance at development, gaslighting his best friend, an unfair boss fight, and a useless TM, he just had to be number 1 on the list. Is anyone actually surprised that he'll never get a girlfriend? So that's my list of the top 10 worst gym leaders. I'm aware that with Misty and Brock it sounded more like a rant than a literary criticism, but it's only because I liked them as characters when I first watched the anime, and most of the elements that make them unlikable, such as the sexual harassment and Misty's pity excuse, they just come from lazy writing, which is something I have no tolerance for. I know I've complained about some popular characters in this video, and rest assured, I wasn't trying to upset anyone. I just didn't give a toss if I did. Feel free to blow off some steam in the comments section, or perhaps tell me about some gym leaders you dislike. Smell you later!